Hello thrifty Switch owners and welcome back to SwitchWatch. I'm James Romero and every week I help you to wade through the eShop and find the best deals on the UK, US and EU eShops, and I have you covered. I'm finding you the games that are worth you investing your hard-earned cash into. Speaking of games that are worth investing in, have you seen Hypercharge Unboxed? This video is brought to you by those guys and I'm pleased to announce that there's a massive update on the horizon. I can't wait for this update to land. It's got performance enhancements, fast loading times and new content, including a third-person mode and bots for single player, as well as a whole lot more. There is a demo, so give this game a try and see if it's your cup of tea. Okay, let's jump in and take a look at this week's eShop bargains. Kicking things off, Green Hell is a relentlessly brutal survival game that never takes its foot off of your neck. Set in an open world rainforest, the horror of this landscape sets upon you from every corner. Bites and infections can take hold of you. Jaguars and other creatures are all too keen to sink their teeth into you, and as you need to gather the bare essentials to survive, the rainforest punishes you. And that's before you get to the tribal inhabitants who, let's just say, are not too pleased to see you at all. You will most certainly fail a few times before you realise that you might have the components to make the required tool, weapon or antidote. It's equally frustrating and very rewarding. There are many mechanics at play here, and yet they are woven together well with a decent story. The Switch port is solid, it really looks nice, and perhaps the only downside is the mapping of controls from a keyboard and mouse to a controller are a little bit awkward. Aside from that though, this is a harsh yet satisfying survival game that is solid and currently has a very nice 50% off, which is why this is my pick of the week. Juan Jordan, what are your picks this week?
Thanks very much, James. This week I'm going for Crypt of the NecroDancer. It's not often that a rhythm-based game comes up with something new, but that's exactly what Crypt of the NecroDancer has done to fantastic effect. It turns out that combining beats and dungeon crawling results in a brilliant and exciting game. The tunes are spot on and the gameplay is no slouch here. The developers followed this up with Cadence of Hyrule, essentially the same gameplay with characters from The Legend of Zelda. Now, although this is a blast to play, having the original for just $3.59, 80% off, this is one that if you haven't played yet, you need to add to your list ASAP because it's absolutely brilliant and a bargain to boot. Take care, everybody. See you next week.
What's up, guys? Hope you're all enjoying your weekend. This week, I've got a bit of tough platforming as my recommendation. Slime Sand, with its distinctive art style, was an early indie hit on the Nintendo Switch. It only uses a handful of colors, which gives it an incredibly retro nostalgia vibe, but with incredible modern polish. This is a packed platformer with plenty of replayability. If you like the mechanics in like Super Meat Boy, this is kind of similar, but definitely its own thing. And if you haven't played it already, you should definitely give it a go, especially as it's at its lowest ever price on the Switch, 75% off. Now just $2.50 in the UK and $2.99 in euros and US dollars. You can't go wrong with that price at all.
Great stuff there, guys. Fantastic picks. Next up, it's Runbow. In Runbow, the core mechanic is platforming, but there are many different elements on top of that. There's a splash of racing, a bit of brawling, and a major focus on competitive and cooperative play. Because of the sheer variety in gameplay, the colourful art style, and the incredible music, Runbow is a unique and fun experience. There is a lot of content on offer, and the colour mechanics tied in with the different sections in each level make this a real steal for such a low cost. Terry Kavanagh has a knack for making simple and addictive indie punishing games like Super Hexagon, and this time he's taken things in a different direction. Dicey Dungeons is a roguelike deck building game with a lot of randomness thrown in for good measure. As a giant die, you take on Lady Luck, putting your strategy against the roll of dice as you level up, get loot and unlock new characters. The game is slick and the soundtrack is fantastic. It's a title that you will enjoy a lot more than you think, and though it's not the deepest sale, it's reasonably priced to begin with. This is a game that I would love to see on Xbox Game Pass. We recently did a list over at GamesXpanse, our other channel, so give that a look if you haven't done so already. Nowhere Profit hits two game styles that I love: deck building, card games, and strategic choice-based adventures. This is a post-apocalyptic world in which you travel the map one turn-based node at a time, stumbling upon battles and sites of interest as you build your deck and aim to survive this harsh land. What's nice is beyond and completing a single run, there are multiple difficulties, unlocks, and challenges to keep you coming back for more, and a really nice choice for solo fun with 50% off. There's a lot of strategy games out there this week, and the Warlock of Firetop Mountain aims to take you back to the roots of tabletop gaming in a choose-your-own adventure where you can choose which characters to be, each with their own unique story and playstyle, from good to evil, ranged fighter to sneaky rogue. The aesthetics gives you that sense of nostalgia with little painted miniatures and crinkled parchment. It's a slow-paced burner with a whole host of turn-based combat to enjoy that is hard to look past, with a very decent 90% off. Hey you guys! Yes, who remembers the Goonies? I'm not going mad. That's one of my favourite films of all time as a kid. And Knights and Bikes is inspired by it and The Secret of Mana. It's a crazy combination, I know, but it works effortlessly somehow. This is a coming-of-age adventure. You play as Nessa, an orphan child, as she sets out on a grand adventure to find treasure on her bike. She meets Demelza and makes a new friend as they set out on this quest together. It's mostly charming, seeing how children's imaginations work is a blast, and yet there is an undertone of sadness from the kids' pasts as well. The presentation is lovely and the gameplay is simple but effective. Together the package is solid, and I would recommend giving this one a go, especially if you have a buddy to play this in co-op with. The Dragon Ball series is iconic, and if you love the anime, well, this has lovely, smooth and fluid animations which you're going to enjoy. With 3v3 modes included and online modes like ranked matches for those of you who are competitive, this is a package to suit all of your needs. It even includes a story mode, and each new season brings new characters and story to enjoy. With a Blade Runner vibe, State of Mind is a narrative-driven story adventure set in 2048 Berlin. The story is predictable but enjoyable, like watching a cheesy sci-fi flick whilst eating popcorn on your couch. The visuals stand out as stunning, the look of the world is wonderful, and it's a high point. Throughout the game, you are a passenger. You'll interact with a few puzzles here and there, but ultimately, you're along to see the journey. At its original price, it's just way too much to ask of this 10-hour or so journey, but with a lovely 90% off at just £3.59, it's very tempting. Felix the Reaper is a puzzle game where you control Felix, a dancing employee in the Ministry of Death, looking for love with Betty, who works for the Ministry of Life. It's an odd premise that has both humour and darkness to it that's pretty interesting. It's a twist on the usual puzzles. As you are transported to the mortal realm, time is paused and you need to mess around with things in order to make sure your target dies. It has some rough edges and won't be for everyone, but it's a puzzle game that is unique, and a nice 90% off makes it tempting. The Switch has a huge catalogue of great Metroidvania titles, so there are plenty of quite good ones that get overlooked, and this is one of those. It's a big project from a one-man development team. Originally released on Steam, the game had many improvements and additions over a period of time, and what we get on the Switch is the end result in Outbuddies DX. There are some great features, a brilliant soundtrack, big bad bosses, and freedom to discover and find your own way, as well as a unique drone buddy that you switch between controlling in order to progress, and lots of skills and weapons on offer. But there are some drawbacks too, a challenging map, odd button mapping for the controls, and lots of skills crammed in that make that even worse. It's a big game that will take 10 to 15 hours to complete, and with over 50% off, you might give this one a go if you fancy mixing it up. If you couldn't get enough of Mega Man with the first collection and then various other releases on the Switch, well, the Blue Bomber is back in this second collection of classic Capcom titles. Featuring faithful reproductions of Mega Man 7, 8, 9, and 10, this collection spans the iconic series Evolution and Retro Revolution. You get to take on the nefarious Dr. Willy and his diverse robot masters in these timeless 8-bit, 16-bit, and 32-bit adventures. There are additional time trials, extra stages, and bosses and remix challenges to mix things up, and it's now got 50% off as well. Hand of Fate sequel brings more of this unique and engrossing gameplay to the table, a heady mix of strategic card deck building and role-playing complete with a choose-your-own story style. The Switch is the perfect home for this unique and deeply engrossing title, and now with 55% off, it's a good time to dip in. Big Pharma is a management simulation with some inspiration from games like Theme Hospital. It's all about creating drugs with a positive effect against illnesses whilst minimizing the side effects they cause and then selling them for as much profit as possible. You are ruthlessly trying to stay ahead of the competition and fleece the poor general public of as much money as you can, much like the real world then. There are various challenges on offer to keep playing through as fresh as possible, and whilst I don't personally find this the best sim game out there, it is definitely a deep sim offering. Sadly on the move, the controls and text size make it a little bit difficult to enjoy in comparison to on the TV. And that's it from us this week. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Do let us know, what is your favourite pick this week, and is there anything that you would have chosen instead? Thanks for stopping by and hanging out with us. We'll be back again tomorrow, where Jordan has a roundup of this week's Nintendo Switch physical releases. And we'll be back again shortly over at our sister channel, GamesXpanse, with some nice new PS5 and Xbox Series content too. Have a great week, and hopefully we'll see you on the next one. Take care.